So the new properly noticed, and we're gonna start with Katie.
So, and all the committee members, received the email about, that the board discussed a couple, instances with some committee members, and the directive of the board was to have all committees review the code in the next committee meeting. So that's why it's just right out as a reminder of what the expectations are as. And I also want to say thank you to you all. Doing such a wonderful job.
We need to sign it and get it back to you, or just?
It should already be signed if you haven't already.
Yeah, I don't think this committee got it because they were
Okay.
in flux when it was here. So yes, if we could, if you're not comfortable signing it now,
Just
um.
sign it, and be comfortable with that. Here,
Awesome. Thank you for that.
while you're doing that, I'll just share a little story. Story time. So last Monday Matters, last week, they have on the Monday Matters, they have a list of all the committee meetings going on. Well, one of the meetings was not posted. All the years. Just didn't catch it. And I noticed it, and so I reached out to Jennifer and said, please make sure that this meeting is. No problem. So a couple of nights later, I went to that meeting. And Valley went to that meeting, and one of the first comments from one of the board members was, did you see Monday Matters? They didn't list our meeting. And I stopped, I said, yes, we missed it. Won't happen again. So the reason I'm telling you this is because sometimes you think it doesn't matter, but in certain groups it does. And this group has had some contentious back and forth with Roa and this group. So we need to communicate better and more effectively, know like Monday Matters is effective. And that's an opportunity to bring people together and communicate more effectively.
Can I just add one thing? So you're, yes, it makes sense, but also in the past, I noticed an issue. They have rescheduled the meetings. They did not communicate that to town hall. So town hall still out, or not printed, but distributed what was like originally communicated to them. So I feel like, you know, if we're going to be communicating, you know, for a meeting, we kind of also need the same reciprocation back as far as communication goes. Like, if they're going to change their meeting, we don't want to be sending out the wrong date and time.
And that's an opportunity for our liaison
Mhm.
to make, that's what the purpose of the liaison, I think, is
Yeah,
to be a bridge between those two committees.
I'm sorry, they said something to
No,
you.
through the
They
whole-
said something to me.
I had to go to that meeting and kind of play both sides.
Yeah.
Try to bring two by moments, but Monday does matter.
Yeah,
That's the case. All right, so next is town center. Okay. Town center events. Did you guys notice a car show a couple weeks ago, that also run a car show? You did?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was hoping to go downtown to get some of the.
And it's not on the Monday Matters. We don't post advertise it, because it's not a pro sanctioned event, right?
Election event.
Lexington. I'm just throwing it out there. I think we should. As a communication team, as a resident, I would like to have known, and I've had people come up to me and say, I didn't know there was an event. I just kind of stumbled on it. I know there's politics involved. I know there's history involved. I think the high road would be to showcase those events, because it's for the town, it's outside.
Every event will
Enjoy it.
drive people to business.
Yes, and I think if we're gonna do that, though, it's gonna set a precedence that we have to include celebration of Island Villages events.
Absolutely.
Celebration point at a farmer's market, not farmer's market, but some type of event over at the brewery, and they, I don't know the name of their shopping center, other than Celebration Point, but whoever owns it, they're Alexa, basically. They do a really good job of trying to get events and stuff out there, and then we're trying here in Island Village, so I think that would be great to be included. Yeah.
I know there was, there's something about if there's a Crow event taking place at that same time, right?
There's room for that in Friday Flash.
Okay.
All that can fit in Friday Flash.
Yeah,
In the past, though, they reach out.
I was gonna say, it's really, I think that for us, this is where it gets, for Lexan, yes, we have that relationship where all I have to say is, hey, give me your, which I talk to Mike quite a bit, but I can say, like, most of this is we need a good standard how do we communicate this? They have to give us this. So if Lexan says, here's our events for the month. Now, outside of that, this is where I think we do have to draw the line, because outside of this, I have no idea who Celebration Point, how they come up with their events. Like, that is where things get murky, because if we're gonna have some consistency, I have no way of saying to them, give me your events. But Lexan, absolutely. I mean, I
Well,
can-
you can kind of be a point person, if you don't mind, because
Sure.
because that's.
I can find out, cause I know like Coburn's trying to do some things, like they just recently did a movie night and they're who we were from, so they're kind of our Lexan. But they did a movie night over here. And I think Academy's getting ready to start doing stuff too, so maybe, it's smaller events, like this little car show, we're gonna post.
That's
All of that can help because your Friday.
Comments regarding your water tower sign discussion?
So I see my name's on here. I'm assuming there are some questions about what can go on the water tower and what we're discussing. Okay.
Yeah, we had talked about this at the last meeting. Just wanted your input in terms of really what the discussion came down to is how much effort it goes into this. If we just keep it Kanoa, Croa events up there, so the backstory, and I didn't have that information.
So you pretty much covered it. Should stay promoting either items within Kanoa or Croa. The water tower is property of the CJC, so the Joint Committee. So really anything of what goes up there would be on that. And then the signage or any banners we put up there are quite expensive to make. And then there's additional staffing of installing and removing that, which is done by typically done by the maintenance team of Croa. It typically, has the farmer's market information on there. That's going to be removed for now, or that's going down for now snowing. I know the farmer's market was interested in doing a new sign, so they've been given all the parameters for it, and then they'll give that to us. And once the Kanoa board approves that, since the farmer's market falls under Kanoa now, it'll go up.
The farmer's market, is that under,
Kanoa.
it is now?
It is now.
It is transition. Okay.
So does Canoa pay for the banner, or if let's say it's the Celebration Marathon, let's just say that they have one. Do they pay for it, or does the town, who pays for it? That was one of our questions that we were asking last week.
So typically, I can give you some primary examples, which would be, it's used for the farmer's market, which the banner's paid for by the farmer market vendor. It's used for Now Snowing, which is a Lexan event, which is paid for that sign's made by paid and made by Lexan. It's used for all of our Celebration Community Services events, meaning the Pups and Pints, the Home Improvement Expo, and those are paid for by the Celebration Community Services funds. And those are tied into necessary advertisement through our grants as well, which is the whole purpose of the CCS existence, is so we can receive grant money. And most all of that grant money from Experience Kissimmee has to be used for advertising. So that payment of that is usually uses that funding. If you ever see some on 192 or on I-4, there's sometimes some billboards with that. The funding for that is from the Experience Kissimmee grants as well.
Question, signage?
I think last time Jim was asking for, someone had reached out to you. You said about having usage of that, that's why,
Mhm.
so we needed to find out, or maybe keep it quarterly.
I think it
The
was.
protocol from us.
Well, what we had talked about was maybe some guidelines of keeping it Kanoa Croa, because there is also who puts up those signs. who takes the signs down. So there was question of outsiders wanting to use that water tower space. And just internally discussing that it's probably would be a good idea for us to have a discussion and then come back and maybe vote on it. At least keeping it, you know, what, in Croa based instead of outside.
Yeah.
Anyone outside of that.
So I mean, I guess to say it's Kanoa, Croa, CJC, or CCS. So it's of those boards,
Let's see, CCS.
the Celebration Community Services. That board, so that is created so that we can receive grants. That's basically what it does, and it is the home of the Pups and Pints, Home Improvement Expo. I am missing a couple of it. Thank you, 4th of July, and so that's, it exists for, so we can receive those grants. The board of CCS is the CROA board. But they do hold separate meetings to approve those budgets.
Celebration, we asked everybody to come today with some ideas for magazine articles and. there's, So the first one, maybe Katie, you can help me out with this. Charles mentioned the other day at the CROA meeting about a school board quarterly feature.
Oh, yeah, he said it was something that communications should maybe discuss. In the past, I think there was a school board base, right? Because, I'm getting confused with you too. But yeah, I mean, if that's, right now, who has like permanent space in the magazine? It's.
Sheriff.
Been, yep,
Yeah,
the library and
Foundation.
foundation and Childry.
okay, so then I guess the topic to discuss amongst the committee is, you think it would be beneficial to have the school board. Well, spaces, and what did Charles suggest? He's the.
Well, he
liaison,
mentioned rotating
rotating it quarterly with,
amongst the four.
okay, but I think they're permanent, right?
Right, well,
I mean,
my contention was they get a full page.
Well, they don't have to, and
Well, I
again,
know.
that is, yeah, that's something
I'd
that,
like to shrink that down.
Yeah.
okay, so
and
maybe
or
you guys
rotate.
could decide that,
So
like, how
that
to
the
do
more
that.
community-based things that happen here.
Yeah, maybe look at all of those entities and see, should it be quarterly swapped out? Should it be smaller spaces, you know? That's a good idea to see, if you want to change it to include.
I think also going back to like keeping us focused also, I'd like to just talk about why we started making any changes. Like that's a good, you know, I think that kind of having that mission statement, if we're gonna make a change, why are we making that change? We all talked about nobody's opening the magazine, right?
Yeah.
So when we say that, is somebody going and getting to their mailbox to go, what's the school board quarterly update? You know, I think that this is where we kind of get lost in the sauce, is it's just from me that everybody's got different reasons for wanting different, you know, articles or whatever in there, and it's just probably a good idea, I think, to kind of say, what's the mission statement?
Are you
Why?
inundated with articles from places outside of those? I mean,
Well, I wouldn't call those art, those are standing
Mm.
relationships that we have. So every month, they are there in my mailbox, because of course, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? I think that that's something that this is a really, you know, they have thousands of people that they
Sure.
can focus their information on. So those are consistently there. I think where it gets difficult is when, if I'm having to go and like, you know, ask people for information, where is this giving me this? But I think other than that, then we get the organizations and groups. Those are all.
Makes sense. So the organizations that want to be in the magazine, they come to you and you're not having to hunt them down every month.
Correct.
And so that might be like something to consider.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want to add someone just to add it, and then you're having to like pressure them,
Yeah.
oh, we need this from you.
Because we're already, and so it, like I have told you guys, it's a doggy paddle to the finish line, and the publisher is still upset with me that she wants some The fifth, everything should be in. That's every image, every written word. It's just
But is
almost,
it consistently four players are delaying getting in that?
no, they never do. What the delay becomes is if we tried to make these changes, which we are, this is part of it.
Mhm.
So I always use them, but let's say the celebrators, they were giving, here's information. Here's when we meet, here's what we met about. So in these discussions, I've said, can we turn this into the garden club saying, this month, here's something you can plant, where it's actually something you can read versus just information. So kind of making that change, everybody's been on board with that. But that takes, sometimes I read it and I have to send it back and say, can you guys add something? Everybody's been great about it. It's just in that transition, trying to say, hey, let's make this more than just what time, what place, and what they met about. So I'm not really having to chase other than outside of that. It's building those relationships. Like I feel the school needs to be represented, but not necessarily in a way that's from the higher up, but from the football game. Somebody reached out and said, I write about the sports. So great. So I recently connected with Tanya, and she kind of represents the PTA for all the schools. So I said, hey, can you start sending me information monthly? And she was like, I will do my best to. It's a huge commitment to ask people to.
Is there anything from this committee that we can do to help get this stuff out? I mean,
No, I think that it's more about, we have to, I think, starting in 2026, what I want to do is I want to keep the word count down. That's from the publisher. Her response is, you guys have way too much, like you know, there's way too many
word
words.
count for article, you mean? Okay. For like 300 or?
She, that's what I'm thinking. Right now, it depends on how many pictures somebody wants in. What I've kind of been doing, and this is also because before, if somebody turned in 5 pictures, they would just send them in. I've been kind of picking the best of those pictures and sometimes editing them. Again, just trying to elevate it versus if you send it, because prior, for time's sake, it was just like, if it gets sent, it gets put in. Here you go. So other than if you guys come across somebody that is, like I said, getting the word out that we have this rotation of people that wanna, I'm in the running committee. I wanna write an article about the healthy, you know, why celebration's great to run in.
Do we have any writers here that have a passion to write? I've written 2 articles next to issue because you needed some help with that
Yeah,
veteran in town and things like that. So if you have a passion, I would say coming from the committee, that would be helpful.
that would be great. It just has to be like, again, I think what's hard sometimes in the objective is to think about what everybody in the community would, and that it's completely something that doesn't roll back into our businesses or something that's advantageous. Right. But also something to keep in mind that there's also some nuances that we run into that when, for instance, we work with Kanoa. Part of working with them on this and the CJC is that the business spotlight is a Kanoa member. So those are things, and then the farmers market, we usually spotlight a vendor. So I think the business spotlight has been great. I think it's interesting to read, but again, that is something that we kind of want to make sure that that is a kind of member.
Is it just rotating them?
We'll rotate them, but there's hundreds. So I think we're good on, you know, on that. And that really is something I think also in spreading the word, because for time's sake, what we usually do is I have a list of questions and I'll say, here's the questions, respond to that. And then we kind of write it up and make sure it's all together versus you won't get it back if you say write an article on yourself. That'll stump people versus here you go, write this, and then we'll put it together. Yeah. What was the question?
Well, I've got a few ideas and then. Yes, I think the 30th anniversary celebration for 26, that needs to be a focal point year round for all issues. And I thought maybe a banner across the bottom of the cover, you know, celebrating 30, and just as a marketing play and, you know, opportunities to just really highlight the fact that it's.
I do too. I'll talk to the publisher about that. I'm not sure that we can say, this is what I need to just talk to them and say that, what can we do? What's our leeway? But I know that we did have something for the 25th anniversary of
I
that.
think we did change the front cover bottom right logo.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But I think if we're going to paint throughout the course of the year,
Mhm.
we need to highlight maybe an article or some focal point every issue. Drill in that 30th anniversary from history.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new people like myself who, you get bits and pieces of history in
Yeah.
town, but what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other idea was, your point was, on the state kind of thing. Each month, you say on this, 1998 or 2000, like this happened, kind of a timeline thing or something. That would be,
Where would I get, and this is where I think like, where would I get that information? Is there a good source that I could get that information from reliably and?
I was thinking, we don't have a town historian because it's only been 30 years.
Is there a coffee table book?
Yeah.
That's Jim's,
There's a lot of.
is that? Yeah, I think it,
Because she was founding members on this, she has.
Tim is-
They're looking for being in real estate and everything. She has pictures galore. She has historical facts. She would be a great resource.
so that would be helpful, is if you guys could give me names and contact information of people that.
As well.
Okay.
She is a good resource. I thought down through just.
Don McDonald.
Yeah. Or Debbie.
Don, you and Andy were founding members too. Yeah.
So
But
something
somebody's got to
to,
drive that,
Yeah.
if it's like an article, a standing article every month, like on the state, or we're going to frame it up. These things occurred. Someone's got to own that or drive that thing.
and something to consider, I mean, by this meeting next month, the article would need to be finalized for January.
Right. So, action for you and I can see if we can get some preliminary stuff. And I don't think doesn't have to necessarily happen in 96. Even through the first 30 years, what happened in the small.
I was gonna say, I think that the more we let that breathe, the easier it is versus on this day, those are the, yeah, but if we just say
This year.
30-year, exactly, did you know, I think, yes.
Interesting facts. Like, I met with Susan Lana a couple weeks ago and she tells me about all the different businesses that were in downtown. And.
Oh, really? See, I
Like, I have no idea, some of the diner things were different and
Right, that's
the
just.
way she used to, like, everything about downtown is completely different. So being a newbie, I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm trying to finish one because you know it,
Right.
you know it now, not from the past. So there's some cool stories and things that went on there.
Maybe it's each month. Maybe can one month, next month, and we work with a different writer every month. Tells them their story. What happened.
It's good.
Or maybe just the facts we could start with, if we get with someone to just say, here's the information I know about, here's where this was, that would be,
Just for you, for the resources.
right.
Okay, yeah.
I find if we have people write it, you know what I'm saying,
Okay.
people are like, yes, and then they're like, oh my
We
God,
get busy.
yeah.
So more getting you the resources.
Here's what I have, here's what happened on this, like, any of that is fascinating. I mean, I have to think about how but yes,
Yeah.
anybody, as many people that have, especially if they have images. I did see where somebody posted that, I guess, was there one of the storms that a lot of the information was taken out and somebody else.
I think we dug up the time capsule years ago too. Yeah. Is that something right?
Yeah, I think because when
Lost
they
that.
did a big picture and everything, yes.
You lost the time capsule?
Yeah, they lost the time capsule. That's what I was.
I think sometimes though, I've heard people say that something happened and then somebody else will say, no, it went here, that didn't really happen.
I know, so that, if you do that, you have to make sure 100%.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna read it and be like, no.
Got the time capsule.
Yeah.
It's in my closet.
No.
The great mysteries of celebration is. So when you play celebration. That pink house, everyone has a different story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, with the.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I've heard people want to be on it.
It'd be,
Yeah.
I've heard so many people on that.
I just heard.
See, that'd be fun to do a what's the real,
That, because.
I don't know about the.
And apparently there's ghosts too, so maybe run with that. I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
Legally Blonde, who was the, not Legally Blonde, Geniality.
Sandra Bullock?
I heard Sandra Bullock had that house. Yeah.
See, when I was. That would have been.
It's a Disney executive that
Not
That
that
big.
house in town, I was told that one of the Baldwin boys, the actors, their ex-wife bought that house.
So many.
Yeah. So we're sharing ideas, any other ideas?
The running club was one of the ones I had because there's 3 different running clubs, so like I did run are very heavily involved, so we could do a circle with that and take different pictures and that kind of thing.
That would
Great
be
way.
great.
Which one, the Thursday or the Tuesday or?
Both, yeah, I think it's Tuesday one, and I think the Saturday one's getting ready to start happening again.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's really helpful too if you don't date
Good.
them in any way, so that if I can't use it one month, what's really great is for me to have, yeah, exactly, to have stuff
All right,
then.
well,
And it's brothers and walkers, a lot of people don't know that because it's called a run club, but they welcome all ages and all levels.
I think that'd be great. I'd love that.
Amy's? What
There's
else?
biking club.
There
There
is
is.
a fire pit.
Sunday
Yes.
morning.
I thought you said a fight club. I was like, that's going in the magazine.
I'm talking about like.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can talk all that.
Get the same shit probably not now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you can put,
In the boilerplate, you could put like trails in this every single issue, the bike trail, every single issue, because people will go.
sure.
When I worked for tourism, we had like a page in our little magazine like that, and it had a QR code that you could actually scan to use your route and stuff too on it. So you wouldn't get lost and you would know different bathrooms, there's everything.
So it would be like a stand, almost like what's at the front,
Yeah.
where we have, it would be like, here's a QR code of running trails and,
There's like a trail guides what we had.
Oh, okay.
All the different trails, like if you do this trail, it's 3 miles, this one's a 10K, this one's
How did that stuff work?
yeah.
do you?
It's good, yeah.
You know the yellow bikes on the first shop?
Yeah.
They stop.
They get lost, yeah.
Yeah, they get lost all the time.
It's like they end up arson, yeah, they don't know which way to turn.
never
They
know.
will hear
Yeah.
it.
They always get confused, I'm on Spring Park, I always get confused in that area.
I am always.
Okay, it's not just, that's interesting.
Well, they just confused it.
I think that's great for both residents and businesses.
What? Yeah.
They all do.
I was thinking about recipes and like cooking and
Love
stuff.
it,
People
yeah.
Cook, and I was thinking the farmer's market, like almost like, here's some of the items you could buy fresh at the farmer's market and turn it into, this recipe.
What works even better is if we find somebody who does that as a business out here. And then that is a great example of where I would say, I'd love to spotlight what you do. Please use some ingredients from the farmer's market and write one.
It's a kid's cooking
Oh,
school.
But see, I mean,
I know, right? So I was right. Every year they do a Christmas thing. It's only for kids.
Oh, I didn't realize.
By the way,
I love that.
was.
it does, based on whatever info. So that was a writer that reached out and said, I write and do this.
He won one game, I think they should be happy. They-
Have we ever, just actually thinking about the school, have we ever thought about, do they have like a, I don't know, if schools still have any papers? Do we ever thought of reaching out to the team, like,
You
mentioned that
that's all.
contribute?
Athlete of the league.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah.
A student do an article,
Mhm.
or like, we discussed it for a little bit last year, and that like, yeah, you could have a student writer from the high school, maybe who, like you said, who is on like the student newspaper, or even like ask the residents in general opportunity to write something, article, and then just select.
Do we do that? Is there anything on the magazine say, hey, you have an article or? photo?
well, our submissions, yeah. And
Like market it to like a young, like the high schoolers to kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
get the younger craft.
I think I think I had Adriana reach out. I'll see if she did to the specific schools. That is where you would think we would get flooded with it. We don't. And what I don't want to do is become reliant on that because, but I would love if somebody has that because I think,
One month thing even.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if things come in and kind of that's what's happening now is people submit and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Hey, keep sending me stuff. And I won't guarantee that it's gonna be published, whatever, that month. And that was like the school buzz. She sent something that was very timely and I said, I can't use this because by the time we publish it, that's long gone, but how about write us something that's in general? And so that is the kind of relationships as we continue to build them. But I think what works really well, if anybody knows the teacher specifically, that's where we get a lot of traction.
Yeah.
If I can reach out to the journalism teacher and say, I wanna, because that looks good for everybody.
Yeah, and the student that's featured, I mean, it's a great thing for their portfolio.
So if we go to the principal, a lot of times it just doesn't filter down, like it works really well to go right to the teacher. So if
Do
anybody.
we have a connection with the teachers or?
Ask around.
Yeah, like specifically journalism or photography. If they're like, to me, I would love to show those. Mhm.
Yeah.
I can ask some of the teenagers that work for me that don't.
Mhm.
I would just steer clear of anything that's like a recurring highlight, if it's, like student of the week or student of the month, because if you do it once,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other items, thoughts? I thought, volunteer, and it's a running article, maybe see your point for the running article. Volunteer spotlight, featuring somebody that's a volunteer in town, or, a committee every month, feature committee. Tell you, explain what they do and some of the members on it.
How many committees are there?
it depends if you count the surface areas, there's a lot, I think 7 or 8.
And that might also encourage more people to volunteer to be on the committee. That's coming up in next spring.
We do have the volunteer of the year. It's
We do.
announced at the annual meeting, so that could be something that
Oh,
comes
speaking of-
out, yeah, that could come out in a following magazine, most likely.
We do that in January.
The annual meeting is usually in March, so it usually is.
Well, speaking of, that's the.
But I think that's also a great example of if you guys come across somebody that's doing something amazing, we don't have to have it reoccurring. It can just be,
Yeah.
I've been calling it resident spotlight. Like those are the things I'm trying to stay away from like every month, but we can just,
Right.
if it's like, oh, this is great, residents, business spotlight.
Fresh though, when people aren't expecting the same formula every month.
Right.
So like, yeah, if there are, these things submitted, and it doesn't have to be reoccurring of, oh, wow. And then next month they're thinking, I wonder what's gonna be, in it this month, it doesn't have to always be.
Right.
the thing.
And it allows us the freedom
Freedom to play.
to just me exactly where I can say what I got this month, rock and roll with that.
Right.
That point, I would suppose we change this and have a what's new heading here so that people see that there's something new
Can expect something.
as opposed to.
So they have to look through it?
Exactly. If you're gonna
In the
look at-
table of
In the
content.
table of, people do actually.
Kind of like a teaser thing. So
Yeah.
then they go away and do, yeah.
So I usually look at the same.
Tell them what's new.
That's a good idea. Let me ask you guys what you think about, things like I reached out to Wesh News, their meteorologist, what's his name, but like those kinds of things to say, hey, and that's coming up of why I reached out to him as well, but also Noah, but that would be great.
I mean, that would make sense. We are.
But think about, like I said, I want to put out there to think about, is there anybody notable that, because a lot of them, he was super excited. Their producer hasn't signed off on it yet, but,
What was the angle for that?
would you like just asking him to write something about the weather that affects celebration specifically? One thing I do want is to make sure that it benefits all of you versus just them. But most of the time, like he is like, absolutely, please get in touch with my producer. I'd love to do this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because So you didn't really understand that we actually bought here.
Yes.
And-
On Thursday.
But I think that's a good idea. The other thing, this coyote and.
Yeah, that was a big.
But we could actually broaden that to, because a lot of the people have no clue about what really you should be concerned about with gators. I mean, they're in
Right.
every pond in this town. At least one, if not more.
Yeah.
People don't understand, there's so much urban legend about them.
Zigzag does not work.
And the other thing that a lot of people do here, they feed them.
Mhm.
So, you know, this line say not to.
And then they turn around and get the gator killed because it's eating their
So is
dog.
it more like what to know if you're new to the area or need?
I would just say, you know.
I think that's FWC, so that's what I'm talking about. Let's build that relationship, which we were just talking about with the coyote came across. That's exactly what I said. Let me reach out to the FWC. They kill for these kind of spotlights to say, let's,
Awareness.
what was that?
No.
No.
I didn't.
I think the one who reached out to us is a Celebration resident too.
What was that? Say that
The
again.
one who reached out to the board, she's a Celebration.
Oh, really?
That's-
And she's the biologist?
Yeah.
Oh,
what
that's,
I think, and,
I'll look that up.
and all
Yeah.
her information was like really thorough, so maybe she might want to.
Yes, so did you see the link in the Monday Matters to that? But I think we could use that as an article in there. That's interesting.
So, yeah, if she's okay with it, I would.
I'll reach out to her, like I said in that email, I gotta reach out to her specifically and say, as things come up, let us know. And a lot of times, like, they would love to take.
I think that would be really good for residents and visitors.
That's
Meeting was the
interesting.
other night, there was a top topic with them,
I just.
because his cat got eaten by a coyote the other night.
How does he know?
Cause his son came home at 3 a.m, opened the door, and the 3 cats got out, and he looked in the backyard and the coyote grabbed it. snatched it
Okay.
Up in East Village. But somebody from the Fish and Water said, you know, you can't trap them, you can't shoot them, and
No,
you gotta live with it.
right, there's
People don't wanna hear that.
yeah, there's like a webinar that's,
There's a webinar. going.
yeah, coming up too.
Other ideas, thoughts?
I have an idea, there's a lot of people who were writing on. Questions I did about highlighting the houses that own the top with the. That would be really fun, and this is gonna be one of those things people hate or love, but to kind of highlight and more of appreciate some of the neighbors that really have fun.
Jacob, that's, has a history.
I'm sure, okay. I'd love to hear.
I mean, it's hard because sometimes those ones, they don't keep within compliance.
Oh, I see.
Even, I mean, compliance doesn't allow any temporary decorations over 6 foot tall. Any,
Okay.
No plastic, no vine.
and no plastic and,
Oh, so there's
yes,
quite a
so
few
there's
stuff.
things that we can't, you know,
Oh, I see.
since we are in charge of making, publishing the covenants and upholding it, we
Yeah.
cannot promote something that we know
It's against.
is
that.
against it.
Oh,
Where we do,
okay.
where the difference in this is the special events committee does, on Spooky Soiree, they did hold a competition for multiple categories for Halloween and then they gave out awards
Okay.
onto those. So we do slightly do it in a way that it doesn't interfere with.
And then I just spotlight the award given.
Got it.
And then that also covers us on the resident side of things so that we're not promoting, bringing people in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of,
Yeah.
some,
Okay.
Sensitivity.
So many, this was my first actual Halloween there, and there were so many kids I saw, and so many families that loved being here and taking pictures from Mickey, and you know, it might, for a lot of people, it'd be the opportunity to do that. It was a very
Yeah.
special time for a lot of
It was-
families.
Something I was
It's
recently
sweet.
saying is this is where it actually, while they're still learning and rolling out and learning through it, the growing of Visit Celebration, the DBA of Kanoa,
Yeah.
you know, there's gonna be opportunity there where they can do more promotional about bringing people in, getting more traction on whether it's their website, it's their social media and everything. Because I often will reference it, like, look at a Kanoa or a Crow board meeting. If there is no one in the audience of a Crow board meeting, is the board doing are we doing things wrong? Most of the time, no. If no one's attending the meeting, it means that they're happy. People only attend meetings if they're upset, right? Yeah, to complain. If there's 50 people in the audience, there is something that they are upset about. And in that sense, we are overall, CROA is a homeowners association. And in that sense of the governance of that, you don't necessarily always want a ton of traction on your publications, because the more traction you have, the more items in contention you can bring up. So it's just something, yeah, and more scrutiny. So there's just those lines where we need to be just thoughtful of. Of course, we want people to be engaged and involved,
Yeah.
but also we don't want to open the door for criticism and items like.
Right. And it's a constant in the office. It's like, I will always have to go back and say, there's times that my social media side of me is like, we need to push this, we need more numbers. And then it's like, well, that's not what it is about. And it's like, oh, that's a good reminder, where I'm not trying to push for more outside numbers, for more people. So that's why you say, and I have to be reminded of that, because it's like, that's where I always go back to, what's our mission statement? What are we trying to accomplish?
Do we have a mission statement
For
for the magazine?
I think we had talked about that's something we need, and I think that needs to be, even if we had one, it probably needs to be revisited.
If you have one, it will help
Let's start.
with calling out one of the ideas that.
The thing that I've noticed like in the past, and it was one of the reasons why I ran for CROA, a lot of it's the education piece. Residents don't understand how it all works, and when they don't understand how it all works, it doesn't make sense, and they get upset, and then they're upset about technically the wrong thing, you know, because they're just kind of, it's not their fault, they just don't understand it.
And they start blaming different.
Right.
Entities and things.
Yeah, and then it just, and then if you take like 30 minutes and you explain the whole thing, and then they're like, okay, that's good. But like if communication, like this committee can focus on educating like residents, I think that is like,
That's like the idea of a
Big thing.
committee,
Mhm.
teacher committee every month. I know it's a regular thing, but I help them with that, but just so people know who's on committee, or if they want to know
or like what a committee is.
what a committee is,
Right.
and what their function is, and then how to get involved if you want to get involved, and
Or who is responsible for what. I feel like it's on
yeah.
Facebook all the time. No, this isn't pro, this is
Yeah.
ours.
But almost if we have somebody that could make a map of, like a diagram that we could put in the magazine, that's like, did you know, that's where it could be, that we got to educate them in a fun bite size.
Might even have like those, that's because like she has PowerPoints where it kind of like has that flow chart.
Who does?
Now, there might.
Have it in the board orientation.
It
we
might
have that there.
exist, like, and yes, because I
Maybe
think
make it a
that
little
would
fun, a little bit more.
be great too, and even, yeah, if you include like what CDD is over here, and so, because people do.
They do want to have a welcome, to the neighborhood, like Sylvia and some of the other.
Community connections.
Yeah.
Could you look
It
into
was very
that?
cool.
Like the flow chart, maybe?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, because I've asked, I think that's like one of the first things I asked, like, one of the Lauren did say it exists.
Something,
That makes sense. It would.
I'll see what it,
It might just need to be fine tuned a little bit.
Tweak it,
version for the board orientation, we do that.
okay.
tweak it so for a resident,
Yeah,
It's very high level, but it just shows all the organizations.
That's great. That's where I think we have to start.
I think
it's like
that's
a
really-
phone number or email.
People don't understand.
Well, that's like what we're trying to do with the ARC committee, is really educate people. Like this month in the magazine, we have the coordinator in there talking about, but just her face saying, this is what we do. I think when people understand, instead of it feeling like it's just rules, when it's like, no, this is the reason why, and we want to work with you, that just needs to be.
I think the other thing that I noticed a lot is like people, like other residents tend to complain about the way celebration is run. But what they are missing is it's being run by other residents. Like, this is run by residents for residents. It's all volunteer. Those where all the decisions are being made by your neighbors. And like anyone can be a part of it. So like anyone can join a committee and be a part of the decision. Process. So I feel like, and when people hear that, then they are like, oh, wait. So it's like, when they are criticizing, they're basically criticizing your neighbor who's spending the time volunteering, trying to research, trying to make, everything work. But if they don't like it, that's okay. But they can also come to the table too and be a part of it. So I think, yeah, when we do like a call for committees and stuff, I think that's,
You never know.
yeah, and even if they don't want to run, that's
They
okay.
understand.
But then they understand, okay, well, I'm choosing not to run. My neighbor's choosing to put
If
time.
I question, I know who to go to.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a point finger.
That could be a good article led by this committee as like explaining what, like, why you should be interested in a committee or that, and it could be
Is there somebody that would want to write that? Because
that would be good to go at in probably the March edition, as the annual meeting is March 4th, and then after
voting is coming up.
March 3rd is when voting ballots are. So then after that is when we would usually launch the call for candidates for the committees.
or even for Crow, run
Mhm.
for the board, I think like a lot of people, that's what sometimes I feel like they look at me like, making these like decisions to like, be mean or something like that. But it's like, I'm not, I'm listening to feedback from other residents that are on committees, and taking their recommendations, they're all doing the research, they're the experts in their field, so I think like people are missing that, people
Yeah.
your HOA board and they just think it's just a bunch of people like trying to like be sticklers on every little thing, but really it's not. We're trying to like get, information from other residents on how it's done, So, and then I think, yeah, if people want to, they can run too. And if they wanna, be the change, they want to
Be the
speak, but I think, yeah,
I love it.
so I think that would be just.
So articulate that, Jacob, the March, what did you say? Was the article, an article?
It would be an article. So an article about what are the CROA committees and why you should be involved. For the
I
opportunity.
would almost break those two committees are a lot, right? There's a whole bunch.
I think it needs an article on explaining the committees, that they're advisory to the board to help the board
Oh, like a top, like a big.
on a very high level.
High level, so you don't each particular committee.
I don't know if you need to go into each particular committee because at
We'll
that
do that separate.
soon,
It's the
at that
concept of
point,
committees.
there's gonna be the call for candidates for committees. And it has about a 1 to 2 sentence explanation of each of the committee. So, and that's so much content right there that if you put that in there, you lost your article space.
Any writers, aspiring writers wanna? Pretty much not just.
It may
Good for you, Amy.
also be a good point for, I mean, at that point, we could phrase it so the article comes out, it's right around when this round of committees is sunsetting for the new staff.
It's kind of hit, like, yeah.
Mhm. And so it could be one of those, it could almost be more of a piece on,
We could highlight what was committees did.
yeah, what the committee did or the impact you as a committee member
goes in-
had in the community by being on a committee.
Yeah, like our 30th, that kind of goes into the retro of like everything that's happened. And we could also do a thank you to those that serve, like the people that are
Yeah.
leaving.
So that you're saying, I like the idea of highlighting all the committees to ideas, highlighting that is focused on has had an impact. So
Yeah,
I'm thinking master plan and, whatever the splash pad is.
that's a great idea.
Maybe we get, Joe Duzalik, the chair.
Cause that's something visual that that's showing people instead of telling them, which is always, I love that. Yeah.
And then you can relate it, if you even just focus on one thing like that,
The impact, yeah.
then it relate it to, and we have all these committees, and this is what they're all doing at, with different focuses, like communications with City Magazine. It's gonna be a huge accomplishment here. So I think, yeah, just one, and then that's tied into all of them, probably be good, so it's not so.
Yeah. It's like it's an action. Call to action. Highlighting the action of the committee and all action is joined.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we run out of time, weather cameras is on the list of.
You guys also, just quickly, the website analytics, you guys asked
Oh, yeah.
about numbers on that. We don't have any, so I'll make
Okay.
that quick. I did ask, IT, and we're gonna work together to see what the best way to get it. It's just it's not, it's not been yet tracked, and that's not a hard ask, so I will work on that so that we can at least get some idea.
Okay, that's weather camera, what's that?
So thinking of ways that, again, I think that we could just get ourselves out there. I was thinking about, you know, how the news will say they have weather cams and they'll say, we're going to Celebration Weather Cam. That is something,
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
we could eventually.
A lot of towns have it. They have
Yeah.
camera in the square.
So that's also something that down the road, it could be a continuous, and again, this goes back to though, you know, is this something we want, but it could be a continuous live feed that lives on
That's a
YouTube.
technology thing, really. He's-
Mhm.
Yeah, I have already talked to them about that. I think that there's two parts to that. So my initial was how much would this cost? I reached out to Wesh and he said they would love that to see about implementing it if we're serious about it and then come back to them where they could say, let's go to the celebration camp and watch the sunset
That's a
coming.
great idea.
We can eventually brand it as well to say, you know, that's something that we could say, who wants to pay for their branding on there? If it's a Kanoa, I'm just looking for opportunities to bring in both Kanoa and Croa, but also again, I think that being able to have that out there and it's an easy ask. It would be under, I'll get a complete quote. But right now, IT seems to think that's something they could do and that it would be under maybe 1,000 to put a camera up and be able to use that. Plus, it's also, they could use that for security purposes. Like it's a lot of uses that
So
That we
next
can-
time, you're
I wanted to plant the seed with you guys this time in our next meeting. I'll come to you with exactly how much it would be.
you're out of town, you can always see.
Storm.
Any other comments, suggestions, ideas, thoughts? All right. Motion to adjourn?
Oh, you can. I said motion.
He was asking for a motion.
I was just excited. No.
All right.
Oh, thank you, guys.
So for December 1st.